Good evening everyone, welcome to the second episode of SFM tutorials. So on the first episode I talked about how to customize the interface of Source Maker, and I also quickly talked about what we call the workshop, which is an online community in which you can get customized models and maps and so on. So on this episode I'm going to show you how to first of all load a map, then we're going to create some models. In other words, we're going to prepare our session in order to animate. So let's create a new session. Don't forget that the frame rate usually has to be 60. Let's call it tutorial. It has been deleted since last time, because whenever you create a session and you don't generate any model on it, SFM will automatically delete the session once you close it. So that's normal, don't worry. So we can see that there is no map loaded at the moment. So first of all, what is a map? A map is basically a background we're going to use for our animation or our poster. This background is not a 2D background, it's actually a 3D background, because you can actually walk on it, you can jump on it. I'm going to show you how to do all of this in a few moments. And you can't animate without a map, you have to load a map. To load a map, there are two different ways. The first way, which is perhaps the quickest way, I use it all the time, it is to press Ctrl L. I'm gonna press Ctrl L and this window will appear. The second way to open a map or to load a map is to hover your mouse on a viewport, any viewport, right click on it, on the dark area, then click on load map at the bottom, and the same window will appear. So I usually press Ctrl L because it's honestly faster. So this window will appear. It's a quite easy to understand window, I think. I'm going to show you how it works. So first of all, at the top you can see the mod filter, and by default all mods is selected. And if I choose, for example, TF or Team Fortress, it means that the list of maps here, so this is the list of maps at the bottom, will only display Team Fortress maps. If I choose Workshop, the list of maps will only display Workshop maps I have downloaded myself. If I choose Team Fortress Movies, so Team Fortress Movies are the assets that were used for official Source Maker movies, such as Meet the Medic, Meet the Spy, and so on. And you can see Meet the Engineer, Meet the Heavy, Meet the Soldier. You can load these maps and use them in your session. So usually I stick to all mods because you can see literally every map that's installed on SFM. I'm going to show you some maps that you can use for your sessions, and one of them being what we call Stage. So Stage, S-T-A-G-E, is a very simple map. It's actually a cube, a grey cube. It can be considered as some kind of test map if you want. I'm going to show you what it looks like. So I usually take Stage Big, the big version of Stage, because Stage itself is very small. So Stage Big. And sorry, I forgot to say, once you selected your map, just left click here on it. You see this yellow ribbon, so to speak, that will appear. I can just either double click on the name of the map or just click on open right here. So I usually double click, it's faster. And this is Stage. So as you can see, Stage is very simple. It's only grey, with some kind of grey lines, dark grey lines, and at the center you can see this orange circle thingy. So people use it a lot for example, green screens, when you need to make transparency for posters, or just tests. For example, walking animations is very common for walking animations, actually. Once a map is loaded, you can either unload it, as we did with the viewport. You can just right-click on the viewport, click on Unload Map, but it's not necessary, actually. You can just press Ctrl L again, and you can choose another map to be loaded, and the previous map will automatically be unloaded. So for these tutorials, I think I'm gonna stick to which map do I like? So as you can see, I'm gonna stick to Team Fortress maps. Just gonna click here. Oh, and sorry, one thing I also forgot to mention. This is the filter tab in which you can type in the name of your map, and it will automatically show up. For example, let's say I want this map, Arena Lumberyard, but I can't find it. It's somewhere in the list, but I can't find it. I can just type in Lumbery, and here it shows up, Lumberyard. I can just double click, and as you can see, loading map appears, and this map stage will now unload. And poof, oh, we stuck somewhere. Oh, okay, that's a tree. I was hugging a tree, that's weird. Alright, so by default, you should land on this, not on the work camera thingy, you should land on this. So to move around on the map, we are first of all going to use what we call the work camera. So the work camera, as its name suggests, is a camera that we're going to use to work and animate. To create a work camera, you simply need to click on this little button here, which says no camera, and you will see that work camera appears. So the work camera is very simple to use. Hover your mouse on it, hold your left mouse button on the viewport, and you can move your mouse around to, well, look around basically. You can use your forgot the name of it in English. Your scrolling thingy, you got me anyway, to zoom in and zoom out. Don't zoom in too much, however, because it can make the camera glitch a little bit. And you can also move around using WASD. W, S, A, and D. You still need to hold your left mouse button. If you don't do it, nothing happens, as you can see. I'm pressing W, A, etc. Nothing happens. Hold your left mouse button and it will work. And I can move around like this using W, S, my mouse, etc. I can zoom in, zoom out. And you can also press Z to move up and X to move down. So we got WASD to move around, and then Z and X to move vertically. So that is all I have to say about the work camera at the moment. The secondary viewport, or here the primary viewport, but it's the second viewport anyway, it will be useful. I will show you, I think, either in the next episode or in 2 episodes. I'm going to show you soon, because we're going to attribute it a scene camera. I call it like that. I don't think it's an official word. I just call it the scene camera. There is also another way to explore your map, which is to open Team Fortress 2. We're not going to open the game, but SFM comes with a very interesting feature, which is a built-in Team Fortress 2 game, which you can access by pressing F11. F11, I'm going to press it, here you go, and I just appear as a scout. That's interesting. Yay. So of course you can still change your class, soldier, etc, etc. Some of it is glitchy, as you can see. And I can freely move around on the map, as you can see. You can just use your own key bindings here, options, etc. Just bear in mind that SFM usually destroys your key bindings for some reason, I don't know why. So I can do everything I can normally do with Team Fortress. For example, tones, I can change my weapons, I can change my team, etc, etc. And you're going to see that when I move around, let's say for example I'm using the game to move around, to explore a little bit, and then I say, oh, this place looks very interesting, but the map is very big, how am I going to show it to find it again? Well, just look at this, escape the game by pressing F11, poof, and you can see that the other viewport, which has no camera, will automatically teleport itself right in front of where we were. That's incredible, isn't it? So, now we are about to create our first models. So, to do so, this is what we call the animation set editor, which is a list of what is our session composed of. So it can be cameras, it can be lights, as we're going to see, it can be models, particles, and so on. So, to create a new model, two ways, as usual. You can either click on the plus right here, and this will show up. Create animation set for new camera, light, model, particle system, and existing elements. Today, we are going to stick to new model. And the other way to do this is simply to hover your mouse on the animation set editor, anywhere on it, right click, and the same window will appear. So let's create a new model. Let's go. So this is the model selection interface. It's a little bit more complicated than the map selection interface. We still have the mod filter right here, all mods. I'm going to stick to all mods as usual. This is actually subfolders. They correspond to subfolders. Let's say, for example, I need stuff from Hat in Time. I can just left click right here and I will see all of the stuff that corresponds to a Hat in Time. That's interesting. Always check that this is ticked, because if I just untick it, literally nothing happens. As you can see, here I have got 66 models. If I untick this, I've got only 5 models, so check subfolders for files, always do that. And like the map selection tool, the map selection interface I mean, you've got the list of models right here. Don't forget to always select MDL files right here, so that you can see every model that's on SFM. If you happen to select anything, for example this, it will restrict the amount of models. So always click on MDL files, unless you're really looking for a specific model, but stick to MDL files at the moment. So here we can select our models. There's a lot, as you can see. And this is the window that is going to show us what the model looks like. It's very interesting to have this because you can see what your model is going to look like before you make it appear on your session. You can also change some render settings right here. I won't show you that at the moment. It's not very useful for you. I don't even use it myself. And still, you can also use the filter right here. So let's say if I want a clock, I will see all kinds of clocks, workshop clocks, for example this one, this one, this one. We're also Team Fortress clocks. But today we're not going to work with clocks, we're going to work with, let's say, an engineer. I'm going to animate an engineer, because engineers are fun. Yay. Okay, so once you type in engineer, there will be a lot of models that will show up, as you can see. We're going to select player engineer. So actually, what you can see right here on every line is, first of all, the mod. This is Team Fortress. This model belongs to Team Fortress. And it corresponds to the subfolders, bots, then engineer, and then the model is called bot.engineer.mdl. Every model is called .mdl. So that was just a random piece of information. So let's select our player engineer. So like a map, you can either click on it and then click on open, or just double click. Poof, and our engineer is ready. So this is what we call the T-pose. Then we're going to make a second model, and I suggest we take a Splatoon model, because that's basically, I think, why you're here. So let's type in, not Splatoon, I'm going to type in Inkling, and a lot of Inklings will show up. Inkling boy, for example, and Inkling girls, right here. I can add, for example, Inkling underscore girl if I want only girls. And let's take green eyes. So I'm going to double click, but actually no, I'm not going to double click on this one. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. I'm going to click on green eyes here. What's the difference? There is literally no difference at the moment. The difference is on the name. You can see here the Inkling is called green eyes, and here the Inkling is called green eyes underscore IK. Why are we going to choose IK? It's only because of an animation technique which is available only on IK models. I will show you what it is in a few moments, or in a few episodes, I think. So let's go for it. Inkling girl, green eyes, IK. Double click, and now we got a little problem. Our two models are basically what we call clipping. The Inkling is inside the engineer, which is really awkward. So we need to move them on the session. So how are we going to do that? I can still move my work camera, but I can't move my models. How am I supposed to do that? And the answer is very simple. Use the motion editor, which is on the timeline right here. The timeline is this window, this very long window, and the timeline works with 3 modes. And I'm going to show you what every mode corresponds to in a few episodes. Let's go to the motion editor, which is, as you can see, F3. I don't use this skin binding at all, sorry. Let's click on it, and you will see that the timeline changes completely. This is what the first one looks like, and this is what the second one looks like. And now, using the animation set editor, we can select by left clicking a model, and you're going to see that there's this small thing that appears. Let's call it a tool, translation tool. Why translation? Because it's going to translate, or in other words, move in the world. If you're not using the motion editor, this tool will not appear. As you can see, it disappears. I can still select my models, nothing happens. So use the motion editor. And then, let's say for example I want to select the engineer, I'm going to move him with different ways. If this tool doesn't show up, which can happen sometimes, you can see here a selection of 4 different tools. I'm going to explain you what every tool does in a few episodes, as usual. I just can't show you everything in just one episode. It would be very, very long. So we've got the selection tool, translation tool, rotation tool, and screen tool. Or you can also use key bindings, Q, W, E, R. I do use these bindings a lot. But don't do it while moving your work camera, because if you do this, it will just make your camera move instead. So if you're not using the work camera, you can press Q, W, E, R. Q, W, E, R. So we're going to use W. which is the tool that is used to make a model move. So, as you can see, we can move with different techniques, different ways. Either the 3 axes, green, blue, red. This cyan button, which allows us to move the model a little bit as we want. And these 3 circles, which allow us to move the model depending on 2 axes at the same time. I use this one a lot. Sorry, this one, the green and red, because it's used to move horizontally. And one thing that will help us for these tutorials is to hold your left mouse button to make it move. Sorry, I forgot to say that you need to hold your left mouse button on an axis, a circle or anything. Hold it and then hold Shift. As you can see, the model automatically moves to the ground, or the nearest collision. Let's call it the ground anyway. Oof! And same for the Inkling, we can select her, hold the cyan button with your left mouse button, then hold Shift, and she's going to automatically stick to the ground. That's magic. And now we can make them move like that, as we want. And we can also, using the rotation tool, by pressing E or by clicking here, we can make them rotate. So the rotation axis you will use a lot is the blue one, or the Z one, as you can see. And I can also move the Inkling like this on the green axis, or using this cyan circle, which is parallel to the work camera, or I can just move her freely, like that, by clicking anywhere on the sphere. So don't forget to cancel or to go back, you can just press Ctrl Z. Also don't forget to save, file, save, or just Ctrl S. And here we are. So at the moment, that's it for this second episode of SFM tutorials. In the next episode, I'm going to show you a bit more about how to prepare your models, because our Inkling has orange hair. Let's say I want her to have yellow hair. I'm going to show you how to do this in the next episode. I'm also going to show you how to add clothes, how to add groups in the animation set editor, and we're going to go also, I think, a little bit further with these 4 tools right here, QWER. And that's pretty much it. So if you have got any questions so far, don't hesitate to send me comments in the comment section down below, of course. I'm really sorry if my voice is making you kinda tired, but it's quite late. Everyone's sleeping right now, so I can't speak very loudly. I'm really sorry about that. Anyway, have a good night, or have a good day. I don't know what time it would be for you. And see you very soon. Bye bye.